just wanted to give a quick session report. We had a game on Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Game went pretty good. Not everybody was overly familiar with the rules. It's a new system, but it's a system you can kind of learn and pick up pretty quickly. We had two things that kind of came out of it. One was when you're fighting two bad guys and both of them are not, one was average speed, one was feeble speed. The feeble speed guy was trying to take off and he was kind of like a little tiny old guy. Well, the player decided to chase after him instead of going toe to toe with like the 6'8", thug. And so basically, as you know, running, chasing, it's you roll a dice, I roll a dice, and whoever gets 3 successes in a roll will they win. They overcome the other or they get away. So his thing was, well, since he had super, heroic speed, he should have been able to like instantly catch the other guy. And I'm like, well, you got to remember, you got another guy chasing you too. So I'm sure you're looking back, blah, blah, blah. But it did feel kind of kludgy, right? There should be some benefit when you're chasing down a guy. So the proposed change that we got to test is, okay, well, everybody has their movement. If you have a feeble speed, you can move 5 inches or 5 feet, but if you're measuring out on a table, 5 inches, and this is fine for on a table, right? I think, I'll move my 5, you'll move your 10, boom, you get me. No big problem. But in theater of the mind, you're not mapping it out. So to me, it's kind of like thinking, well, for every difference between your speed and my speed, I'll get like a 1 or 2 inch zone of control. So if I'm 3 ranks greater than you and you run away, well, if you're within 3 inches, I automatically catch you. Okay, so that's one of the proposed chasing speed changes. Another one is, okay, if I've got significantly higher speed than you, it should take you maybe 4 successes to get away, whereas me, it might take 2 to catch you. So I think that'll even things out. We have to test that in the game. The other thing that kind of came up that the feedback from the player that showed was damage. He was healing as much damage as he was receiving. And like I told him, I said, well, it's quite possible. You can, look at Wolverine, right? There's been many times that as he's fighting, like when he fought Phoenix, right? She would have killed anybody else, but he was basically able to heal whatever she could destroy. So you got to figure out different ways. But I did agree that I think the damage felt kind of kludgy. So like if you were feeble, you had 1d4 damage you could do. If you were, average, you had 1d6. If you were superior, you would have 2d4, and then 2d6 and 3d6, and so I did agree with that, and for a couple reasons. One, I don't want you always having to figure out by looking at your character sheet what damage you're going to be given in a fight. He concurred, and a couple other people I play with concurred. Well, maybe you just give a certain a specific damage based on rank. But, most of us gamer, we like to chuck some dice, And truthfully, for me personally, I think that's one of the reasons Warhammer was so successful. Because there's not many games you could chuck maybe 20 dice at a time, But that's one of the things that made that game fun. So what I'm proposing to change, and we have to test it, is if feeble you get 1d6 damage. At average you get 2d6 damage. And you keep doing that, and at the super heroic and the demigod, you get different percentages of knockout. So a third change is I like a system that, like, if you roll a 0-1, it's going to be a tremendous success. If you roll a 99, it's going to be a tremendous failure. So I think especially if so I hit you, if I roll a 1, I knock you out. And then maybe at, say, demigod level, it's a 10% chance, and at superhero, it's a 5% chance. At feeble, it's a 0% chance. But that's kind of one of the things I'm leaning towards. We gotta test it in a game. You might see Vigilante Justice, since we're so close. I've sent a draft out to the printers to see how it comes back. We're just fiddling with a couple of the fiddly bits that I feel are a little too kludgy in the game to streamline it, but to give you that gratification. So I'm trying to ramp up the gratification within the game. Another thing, on October 4th, if you do watch this, I'm going to be doing a super villain game in the afternoon on Roll20. And we still have place for one more person in the Vigilante Justice superhero game, which I believe it's October 11th or October 10th. So you'd have to go into Roll20 and check that. I'd love one of y'all to play in one of the games, get some feedback. Anybody that's part of the testing, they're going to get their name in the game. And, oh, the other thing I did do with the game is I felt there was some need for some more charts that might make the game more enjoyable for people. Not that, players want charts, but most of the people that buy rules are game masters, and like our Oracle can be played with any game. And I think it's a very good Oracle system. And so I think that there's not a ton out there for modern, especially geared towards superhero games. So some of the charts in that I think would be nice and helpful. And I want to go into deeper detail around, with more examples around combat. So what I decided to do, and I was wrestling with it, I pulled out the whole magic section. Because I think once we release this game, then the next one I might go to Kickstarter, but it'll be, what did I write? Basically magic and technology. So it'll give you a lot more technology for use in the game. Rules around making your own superpower suits, making your own super vehicles. And I think magic, because technology, advanced technology appears like magic, I think having magic in there. Because magic, just like in Dungeons and Dragons, if you play a wizard, there's a lot more bookkeeping to a wizard than there is, say, for a fighter. So within this system, there is more bookkeeping, because basically you have a whole list of spells that at your rank level you have, but every time you cast a spell, it costs something. And the cost, it's free at the feeble, it's 1 magic point at average, 2 at superior, and so you get half of your mental score, rounded up as magic points. So if you've got a 50, if your rank is like at the 50 level, then we're going to cut that, and you got 25 magic points. And when you run out of magic points, the only thing you can cast are the feeble spells. And the feeble spells are useful, and with the right player, they might be able to be game changing, but they're not meant to be that way. Whereas, say, some of the demigod, the demigod spells, which you're at that rank if you're Doctor Strange, sorry, my wife just came in the room, so it distracted me. I'll let it go at that. Love you guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.